screen over there. So poker planning, basically it is an estimation technique. Shall I say?
There are somebody in the line.
Oh,
Need to listen
okay.
to you as well.
All right.
And
Okay.
to your friend also.
Okay, guys, you know me already.
Yeah.
No need for introduction. So, poker planning, also called Scrum poker, it's agile technique. And it is for basically estimation, and it is used to assess product backlog, guessing how much time and effort is needed to complete each of the backlogs. Initiative, it's called poker because everyone uses physical cards. So basically it's like a game, so that resembles playing cards. So sometimes they use playing cards, sometimes they have a specific card designed for this poker planning. Uh, the poker tools are These poker tool cards are assigned numerical values loosely based on the Fibonacci sequence. Can I remove this?
Yeah, sure, sure. Give me this. I will use it when you need anything. Just let me know.
I mean, I cannot see what is
This
it.
one, right?
Yeah, that's okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so each card is assigned. Each card is assigned a number, and these numbers uh, basically are. Next number is the addition of the first two. For example, on the screen I'll explain here. So 0 plus 1 is 1, and 1 plus 2 is 3, and then 3 plus 5 is 8, and 8 plus 5 plus 8 is 13. So it goes like this. So this is called Fibonacci sequence. There is a specific reason to do that, because they don't want exactly the number to double, because that will be very obvious. So they want to use random numbers, and at the same time it is just plus or minus of the double. So that is basically the logic of using this Fibonacci sequence. All right. So before I go further, it will take little bit more than 5 minutes. Is it okay? Okay. So it is basically, first I'll explain to remind you two definitions, because it will be used here. So we learned about the stories in agile techniques. So a story is the smallest unit of work for a Scrum team. Okay, expressed from the perspective of the end user. Stories are often written as a simple sentence. For example, as an online banking customer, I want to be able to add pays to my account so I can transfer money. So this is a story. So when you add all the stories, you make a backlog. So, and then the other definition is story points. Story points in Scrum are units of measurement used to estimate the effort required to complete a story. When planning for an upcoming sprint, Scrum team use story points estimation to gauge how much effort is needed to develop a new software feature or update. So while doing the poker planning, while we are discussing story points, there are two things, here. Now, if you see, uh, there are user stories and there are tasks. So when you are doing tasks, you generally don't use this poker planning, because it is usually defined in terms of hours. That okay, how many hours, or you have a specific. You have to quantify in terms of task. Okay, how much time it will need, how much cost it will need. While in poker planning, you give a rough estimate. So you don't basically bind people that okay, you have to complete it in 4 hours. It could be like days, few hours, which could be like 4 to 8 hours, but you cannot say specifically 4.5 hours. So, so this is basically the difference between story point estimation versus effort estimation. So this is the difference. When you define this, user story, you have to what to estimate. What are you estimating? You are estimating basically business value and complexity. Estimation unit is story point, and then the size of the story will be the same taken from the Fibonacci sequence, which is 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. While doing a task, what to estimate effort, and then you have to estimate in hours a specific quantity, and time to develop or test the particular task for the user story, which could be like a specific time.
Yes, it's like, guys, the user story I explained in Agile. You have product owner. The product owner sits with whom? With the client. The client knows nothing. I just would like to have that e-commerce platform. I am very big fan of Call of Duty. I want to prepare a game just like that one and release it to public with my name, Jasser's Call of Duty. And I want you, the experts, the agile team, to do the work for me. By estimating at the beginning, you want to estimate how long it would take. You won't be estimating programming for whatever, scripting for having the render reel, having the purchase inside the game available for people to use, how long it will take me, how many hours. You will not be estimating that. At that level, you are estimating what? You are estimating this user story that I have told you as a client, and you will say that the business value and the complexity of that might be using, for example, let's say 40 or 400 story points. Story points means it's a tree of yarn. Once you start estimating for specific work after knowing what is the user story size and knowing those numbers, you will be estimating or converting them into tasks. In order to do this story told by our client, we need to do, let's say, 500 tasks. After analyzing the story, after agreeing on the backlog, we have that backlog of those tasks and features, right? For each task, for scripting, for the entry screen for that game, I know that this will take me, let's say, 4 people's effort for 4 full days. Then it will take me, for example, or 5 to make it easy. Where is the mouse? We'll have 40 hours because it's 5 days, 8 hours, right? Multiplied by how many person, for example, 4 people are working. Then you know that you will need 160 hours for this task, and you start estimating for other tasks. After estimating for all of that, you will know what is the time needed to develop the task and to test and to have the work done. Correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now I'll try to explain where you can use poker planning. So let's assume we have a product backlog with 12 stories. So the client has given you certain stories. Now the process here, 3 stories are not groomed. Out of these 12 stories, 3 stories are not groomed and need estimation. So we are following 5-step workflow. This is another diagram which Mr. Jasir can explain later, but there is a workflow which says that once you have the backlog, you have to groom the backlog, and then you have, these are the status of the, you can say, the progress. So you have a backlog, you create a backlog, then you groom the backlog, then it goes into progress, and then it is considered completed and then accepted.
Cool. Here, guys, we usually estimate something we call in Agile rate of accepted stories. How many accepted stories versus how many completed ones? Because what I do care for is not only what I have completed, what has gotten approved so I can move forward or I can close my project. And then you get that acceptance rate, so you know your velocity as a scrum master and a product owner and a project manager for the agile. Knowing your velocity, how many accepted user story versus what is remaining, their time, you will know how long you need, correct? Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Okay. So in order to move a story from backlog to the groomed status, you go for poker planning. This is an instance. This is an example. Okay. You can use poker planning for other purposes as well. This is one of the main purpose of poker planning. So what you do now, you have this product backlog in which you have total 13 stories. If you see, out of these 13, number 10, 9 and 8 are already groomed. Then there are 2 in progress, which means they are under the sprint, and then you have completed stories, which is only 1, and then you have accepted, which are 3. So if you see the numbers in front of the stories, 3, 5, 3, these are from Fibonacci formula. Okay, so these are basically only for reference. You can use 3, 5, 8, any numbers from that, because it means that 5 is more difficult than 3, and it has more tasks than 3.
Weighting or rating for, let's say, complexity of that user story or feature that you're doing. Okay, how complex is it? 5 means it's more complex. 13, done, because, for example, in our organization, the maximum is 30. It will not be open for, let's say, 1 million. If we are waiting and we have specific number of categories for the user stories, then we have limited numbers to wait things. This will be better for you as Scrum Master. But if the project is huge and you have too many types of categories, then you might be reaching some bigger numbers for this.
Yes. All right. So now, if you see this slide, 3 stories in backlog stage will groom. So today the assignment is, for example, there is a meeting and 3 stories in the backlog will groom 2 stories today. So we sit here today to move these 2 stories from backlog to groom stage. So here we will use poker planning. So I'll first explain this whole slide. 3 stories are in groom stage, then 2 stories. I already explained that.
Okay.
Then we go to the next one now. So this is like a team working together. The owner, first of all, he will explain all the aspects of the story: requirement, dependency, acceptance criteria, business value. So he'll explain to the team and the Scrum Master sitting together. So Scrum Master is only facilitating. He will not participate in this game in poker planning. He is just sitting there to observe and to facilitate. And then the team itself, they are doing this.
Like exactly what's happening now. I am who? I'm a Scrum Master. I'm just facilitating. I'm making sure that everybody is participating and we are hitting the target of the meeting. This is my work as a Scrum Master in such a plan or a planning poker meeting. And Mr. Muhammad Zoom, the product owner, right? He's explaining what is the task, what's the business value, how we are going to do that. Go ahead, please.
All right. So after this process, they will ask. So the owner will ask them, the guys, are you clear about the requirements and acceptance criteria and its risk and dependency? Can we estimate the story now? So the owner will ask, okay, you can go ahead and estimate the story now, and you already have the cards in your hands with this Fibonacci sequence. All of you have the same cards. For example, you have 3, 5, 8, and 9, and the other person have the same. Now you will give importance. You will choose one card and you'll put it on the table like poker. That okay, I already selected my card. So now we'll go further now. Can we go to the next slide? So the next step.
I'll add something, guys.
Yeah.
To this extent, what happens going to the meeting, start facilitating, doing whatever might happen in any of the methodologies. But what happened with the cards now, selecting the answers by doing the cards, playing the game, this is the planning. So we might reach here and do it by voting, best of 5. Let's say I am the facilitator or the product owner. Guys, this user story will be, let's say, for example, the task will take 5 hours. What do you think? It's brainstorming. So it might be using the same meetings with some other techniques of decision making, but here we are explaining the planning poker.
Yeah.
Ahead,
All right.
please.
So you can go to the next slide. All right. So
You are here, right?
yeah, I'm here. So everybody will vote, and then we'll see whoever, let's say if there are total 5 people and 3 of you says give 3 story points to that story, so we'll select that most probably. If there is a big difference, for example, you are one person, Jennifer is saying giving number 3, and somebody else is giving number 20 or 25, then it is the role of the Scrum Master. He'll come back and he'll ask the guy who is just out of the league, who is just giving an extraordinary number, why. So if he couldn't explain or he explains it properly, we'll go to the same process again of poker planning. Either they will justify to him that why we have given this 3 number, or this guy will explain that why I have used 13 or 15 instead of 2 or 3. Most of the people are using 2 or 3 and one person is using 30, for example, then they will try to bring a consensus in the meeting.
Yes.
So this is basically poker planning, and at the end, that's already explained. So
Cool.
that's all about it.
Great.